My name is Ramina Jaju-Frindrich. I'm a retired rheumatologist, a third-generation genocide survivor, and the president of Assyrian Genocide Research Center, also known as SAFO Center Arizona chapter. I also serve on the Community Advisory Board for Genocide Awareness Week at ASU. The 11th Rosenbluth Family Charitable Foundation Genocide Awareness Week is a series of lectures, exhibits, and storytelling by distinguished survivors, scholars, politicians, activists, artists, humanitarians, and members of law enforcement. This week-long event seeks to address how we, as a global society, confront violent actions and current and ongoing threats of genocide throughout the world, while also looking to the past for guidance and to honor those affected by genocide. Assyrians are the indigenous people of the Middle East, whose empire was known as the cradle of civilization. They've been subject to multiple acts of genocide in their ancestral homeland, which spanned over parts of Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Turkey. The most notable genocide that decimated 2/3 of the Assyrian population was at the hands of Ottoman Turkey from 1915 to 1923. My paternal grandparents lost over 20 members of their family during this mass persecution. This is why being part of GAW is of particular interest to me. I'm honored to introduce Assyrian-American artist Leah Rose Fisher, a New York City-based singer, voice teacher, and performing artist. She holds a master's degree in music from New York University with an advanced certificate in vocal pedagogy. Leah is active in film and television, in the recording studio for both albums and voiceover work, and on stage in concerts, theater, musical theater, and opera. Over the years, Leah has been able to sing for audiences large and small, both nationally as well as across the globe. Since its inception in 2018, she has been honored to sing with Assyrian Women, a choral ensemble created by the Assyrian Arts Institute. Last year, she became its choral coordinator. In 2021, she performed for the newly elected patriarch of the Assyrian Church of the East, His Holiness Mar Awa III. In film and television, Leah has been in The Diary of Perpetua, TV series The Chosen, and The Farmer and the Belle, Saving Santaland, now available on Amazon Prime. She portrayed Queen Augustine in the movie St. Thaddeus, The Legend of the Shroud. Through her work with Assyrian Arts Institute and Assyrian Global Network, her music video for the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic was an official selection at the Christian Worldview Film Festival last year. Leah has been seen on stage with the Hudson Theater Ensemble and the landmark Lowe's Theater in Jersey City, as well as working with a cast featuring Broadway and off-Broadway actors. As a voice teacher, she has a private studio teaching singing to all ages and levels, both in person and virtually. And she's honored to be the voice teacher for the Assyrian Arts Institute's Assyrian Children. Tonight, Leah, sponsored by SAFO Center, Assyrian-American Cultural Organization, and Assyrian Student Association of Arizona, will be performing several classic Assyrian songs, some of which tell the story of genocide in the Assyrian language. She will share the background for each song as we go along. You can follow her on social media at Leah Rose Fisher. At this point, I'd like to ask you to please turn off your cell phones and join me in welcoming Leah.
Shalom Alochun, Shimi Ila Leah Rose Fisher. Thank you all for joining us today. I have some music videos for most of the songs and a few lyric videos, and many of them were made through the Assyrian Arts Institute sponsorship. So I wanted, you'll see their name up there, but they have supported me very recently in a lot of different musical endeavors in the Assyrian world, and I'm so grateful to Ramina and everyone here for bringing me to perform. Our first song is called Rurum Rama, and it's the Assyrian national anthem. The music is by Rabbi Nebu Isabe, and he was born in Iran. He was a prolific and well-known Assyrian composer that died in 2014. He composed over 100 works and was an accomplished violinist and pianist. And he also began the Assyrian choir in Chicago when he lived after he had come to America. And my aunt and also my aunt's best friend, Juliet, were in that choir back in Chicago. So the lyrics were written by Rabbi Yosef Bit Yosef, and he is a current day well-known Assyrian poet and a good friend to all who know him. He is originally from Urmia in Iran and currently lives here in the United States. And he has been a great teacher and resource for me as I've continued to learn Assyrian music to share with everyone. Rabbi means teacher, and Rabbi Yosef had written the poem, and then Rabbi Nebu had read his poem and wanted to put it to music as our national anthem. So it has become widely known and continues to spread through the community. So here we are with Rum Rama. The next piece is called Kharabed Nineveh, which means the ruins of Nineveh. And the music is by Belis Daniel and lyrics by Yusuf Yacob. And Nineveh was the capital of ancient Assyria and was located on the east bank of the Tigris River, where current modern-day city of Mosul, Iraq, is. And the Assyrian Empire was great for many years, and historians usually break it up into a few different time periods within itself, but spanning back as far as at least 4,000 years ago. Though we just recently had our Assyrian New Year's, and we're currently in the year 6,773. So eventually the empire fell, as many empires do, and that was around 609 BC, though small Assyrian states continued throughout the centuries. And this song speaks to the history of our nation, and specifically seeing the ruins of Nineveh and what has become of it, and the longing for the memories and the place that we used to have. The music video for this song was created through the Assyrian Arts Institute, and it was during 2020, so when we were all at home, and I was actually able to collaborate with Assyrian artists from across the globe. So I have a violinist and pianist that joined in for this music video. So the first part of it will be them sharing about themselves and what they've gone through, and then the song will begin. The Assyrian Arts Institute was created by Nora Lacey, and she wanted to continue to preserve the Assyrian identity and raise global awareness so that the Assyrian culture and traditions may be embraced and celebrated by all. And arts is a universal language that permits empathy, appreciation, and unity, and AAI serves as an educational resource and provider of exhibitions and performances of the Assyrian arts to share with a global audience.
My name is Mariella Shaker. I'm a Syrian-American violinist and I am based in London. I moved out from Syria to America in 2013 as I received a scholarship to continue my music studies at Monmouth College in Illinois. In 2017, I received my master's in violin performance from DePaul University. Music is the bridge which has saved my life. I very much believe in this powerful and beautiful language to fashion peace and love in our world and to harmonize our differences.
My name is Riyad Nicholas. I'm a Syrian British pianist who has been a resident in London since 2005. I have studied at the Purcell School of Music, the Royal Academy of Music, and the Royal College of Music in the UK. Today, we are playing a very special piece called Ruins of Nineveh by Bellis Daniel and lyrics by Yusuf Jacob. The piece is a patriotic hymn about the beloved Nineveh. It highlights the glories of Assyrian ancestors, their suffering, and their wish to return to their homeland in Bet Nahrain.
מתחזיתון צ'יפפליתם חודשון דנה צ'ונק מקב משדלונאי נוחתי מנה בת מצ'ותן אתורן תלה פרקתו אתורן Next piece is called The Assyrian King's Letter to Jesus. And it is a song that I wrote for a movie that I acted in. And the movie is about how the Assyrians became Christian. So the movie is called Saint Thaddeus, The Legend of the Shroud. And Rabbi Yosef actually wrote the lyrics for me because I wanted to make sure there was some of the actual Assyrian language in the movie because it was done here in the US, so it is in English. But Saint Thaddeus was a small indie film that tells the story of the founding of the Assyrian Church of the East. And Thaddeus in Assyrian is Mar Addai, and he traveled to Mesopotamia to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. And King Abgar at the time had leprosy, and he was sick, but he had heard about the miracles that Jesus was performing, and this was while Jesus was still alive. And so he sent a messenger to him to ask him, I've heard about your miracles and that you've been healing people, and I believe in you, please come and heal me. But it was towards the end of Jesus' time, and so he sent Mar Addai to King Abgar. And the movie focuses also on the Shroud of Turin, so it's believed that it's the mysterious shroud that has the image of Jesus on it. So the the story is that he brought this shroud and Jesus had touched it to his face. So because the king had believed and had not even seen him, when he saw it, he was fully healed. So after that, he became Christian, and at the time, as all civilizations do, whatever your king does, you do as well. So initially, that was what started it. But Ma'adai continued to spread the gospel through to Mesopotamia and to all of the people. And the music video was actually an official selection and nominated at the International Christian Film Festival in 2017. And so the video that you see was made by the same people that made the movie and has some of the clips from the movie as part of the video. next song is called the Agalare, and this one is specifically about genocide. It was written by the words by Rabbi Shlimun the Salmas, and he was one of the Assyrian patriarchs in the early 1900s. And he wrote the words probably in the 19-teens around this time of our largest genocide that started around 1915. So this song tells about the death marches as the Assyrians were forced to walk and flee from their lives. And being Christian in the Middle East, as our last song told, has been one of the many reasons that we have continued to have to flee. And my grandparents were actually part of this particular genocide. So they were born in Iran, and they lived there until this happened, and they had to flee, and they made their way to Iraq. My grandfather was a young teen at the time, but old enough to be asked to join the military or to be required. And so he had to be separated from the rest of the family, and he was the oldest, so he had brothers and sisters. And he was separated and went with the army, and he had a horse because of that. His family, the rest of them, were continuing the walk, but his mother didn't feel that she could make it. And I can only imagine the conversation, or many that had happened for them to do this and for her to even ask for this, but she didn't want to slow them down. So she asked them to leave her because she wanted at least them to make it, even if she couldn't. So eventually they did, and they continued on. And my grandfather was on his horse, and he saw something off in the distance, something moving by a small body of water, maybe under a tree or a bush, something that provided a little bit of shade. And he went over to see what it was, and it was actually his mother. So he was able to save her and take her on the horse to bring her the rest of the way. And then he met my grandmother in Iraq after they were there in the refugee camp, which is where my dad was born. So this song is about the genocide and the different things that our people went through during that time. The next two pieces are by William Daniel, and he was an Assyrian writer, poet, and musician. Born in 1903 in Urmia, Iran, and he died in San Jose in 1988. He belonged to the generation of Assyrians that witnessed the ravages of genocide and was plucked from his home as he had to flee. And he went to Europe, and as he grew older, he was able to study music in many of the European schools. And he also was a violinist as well. So he used his God-given talents to continue to preserve the language and culture through his music and his writings. And his music book is called William Daniel's Creations, and it contains many of the most beautiful pieces of Assyrian music of the 20th century. And his sources were inspired from both the popular melodies of the Assyrians from the mountains and also the liturgical chants of the Church of the East. And they embody the authentic Assyrian musical heritage and at the same time intended to communicate the spirit of Assyrian music to our modern times. He also put his own personal everything that he went through into it. So his musical education and adding his own personality, but always keeping with the originality and the type of music that he was creating. So the first one is called Nineveh, and it was written about the homeland and speaking of the longing once again to return, especially after we have been forced to go to so many different places throughout the world. So this song was written in 1939. This song is also by William Daniel and another one of the beautiful works from his William Daniel's creations. And this was actually the first song that I learned to sing in Assyrian, and my aunt taught me the words. And I believe that in this song, it continues to show the resilience of our people. It's a lullaby that you will sing to the next generation, and my aunt being the one to help me to learn it, it shows that we will continue to carry on no matter what we're going through, and we will continue to bring the next generation forward. Our stories and music will be passed on to keep our culture alive. And so now I sing it to some of my nieces, and I'm passing it on to them to continue that. Also, one of my nieces made her debut in my music video as well. So. Thank you all so much for coming today. My last song that I will share with you is the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. The music was not by an Assyrian composer, but it has the feeling of Assyrian music and an Assyrian song. But the important part is the words are in Aramaic, and in the way that Jesus would have actually spoken them to his disciples when he first originally shared this prayer with them. And the music video, as Romina mentioned, was selected for the Christian Worldview Film Festival as one of the music videos that aired last year. So I want to leave you with this prayer, and a prayer for hope of peace and unity and coming together, even after all of the destruction and terror caused by multiple genocides. Assyrians continue to be resilient and make the best of our situation and continue to raise the next generation in the hopes that they will be better off and able to flourish in a safe environment to continue to grow and preserve our history while paving the way for our future. So thank you again for sharing this music with me and giving me the time today.
Thank you very much. You have an incredible voice. We have time for Q&A. I'm sure that beautiful voice inspired some reactions.
Yes, you have a beautiful voice. I was wondering if you could speak the Lord's Prayer. I'd love to hear what Aramaic really sounds like.
Let me make sure I don't. Avon duishmeya, nithqa da shimach, te the malkuthach, nechwe soyanach ekiana duishmeya bara. Haulan lachmad sunqan yomana, washwaklan chobain. Ekiana dibachnan, shwakan lchayawin. Ula tulan el nisyuna, ila paslam min bisha, mitol dilachi melkyotha, uchela uthishpuchta, la'alam almin amin. And that is in the way Jesus would have said it. Today, we say it a little bit differently. So the beginning of this one is Awon the Wishmeya, and today it's Babin the Mishmeya. So it's similar, but then there are some differences. And yet the Haulan Lachmad Sunkan, and Lachma is still bread, so that hasn't changed.
Hi, my name is Greg, and I'm with Zorian Institute. I felt your song into my bones.
Thank you.
Because the Assyrian genocide and Armenian genocide were at the same time for the same reason.
Yes.
I would suggest, because I felt your song and your trauma and your pain, because I am there. But I wish on this film that you're showing, if there is subtitles of your song in English for people who do not know the language and who do not have the experience of pain and trauma that you have, it would be more grabbing to the people.
Thank you.
That's my suggestion.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Greg. Any others? Oh, in the back.
You commented that the Lord's Prayer, the music is not the original kind of music, but you said that it had the same feel. As being a music student, what sorts of rhythms and tones, modes, etc., are common to your language?
Yeah, so there are, I'm not sure the actual names of the different modes, but in Eastern music, there are more tones than we have in Western music. So in the West, we have 12 notes in a scale, versus in the East, they're in that same amount of space, there are a lot more notes. So you have semitones, quarter tones, and those are between the different, what we call them half steps in the Western music. And a lot of it, I didn't study composition, so I don't know as much of the detail, but there are some that are specifically studying the specific composition. But a lot of it is some of the trills and turns that you have in the voice, having those added to make it move a lot more, and that gives you a little more of that feeling of those smaller tones that are in the music.
Any other questions, comments, reactions? Oh. We need a closer, Kate, so.
Thank you so much. That was truly beautiful and moving. One quick question that I have is that music, of course, we say is a universal language, and so that does allow us to often feel and to understand in ways that we might not be able to just through language alone. But in some of the translations that you have been a part of, have there been things that have been really difficult to translate into English?
Yes.
And could you give us an example of something where you have to do it in one word, but it's probably more like 14 words, but you have to do it in one word,
Yes.
kind of translations?
Yes, so definitely that is always a struggle, especially if music was originally written in one language versus another, you will have so many syllables in the, let's say, English word, and there may be 4 syllables in an English word where you might have 6 or 8 in the Assyrian word. So then you have to find a way to put all of those syllables into the same amount of time. But some of like the songs that were originally written by Assyrians, if it's written in its original language, it's going to be made for that space. So it's less difficult. But I do find in Nineveh, let's see, there are a lot of small little fast things. So one of them that is a little more difficult, and so it has the trill in it. So the Gomand Palta Minum Qadru Khizuduta. So it's happening really quickly. And then another in the same music. Let's see. That one's a little easier, but it's the Gomand Palta that's the hardest. Let's see. So getting all of those syllables in that small amount of time is always interesting. So yes.
Oh, there we go. Another one.
On the verbiage regarding the Death March, on today's map, in what country did that occur?
So I think it was in a few different ones. Specifically, my grandparents went through from Iran to Iraq. So they were fleeing from the mountains near Ermia and fled to outside of Baghdad. But I believe it was also in some of the other, in Turkey and Syria, and just sort of that general Middle East area, a lot of different fleeing happening, yeah.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you very much. It was an honor to have you here. You're a remarkable performer, and thank you, Ramina and Safo Center, for making this happen. We resume tomorrow, because Genocide Awareness Week does not end. Coor Hall for the first two, starting at 9 a.m. with one of my favorite religious studies scholars and my favorite religion and genocide scholar, Kate Timoni, there in the back. And our first two sessions will be at Coor Hall, and then we'll be back here for at 1:15, I believe, for 1 o'clock for the screening of Aurora's Sunrise, which is an award-winning film, Armenia's entry into the Oscar this year, which has been brought to us by the Assyrian Institute, represented there with Greg Sarkeesian and Megan Reed and Jenny Rich and Alex Alvarez, of course. And our keynote will be Assistant Secretary Julieta Valls-Noyes. So we got another full day tomorrow, and so thank you for coming out this evening, and once again, thank you for joining us. We're truly honored.
Thank you all for having me. Thank you.